Hello, everyone.
Good evening, everyone.
This is Avril Ronan from Trend Micro and my colleague Simon Walsh and from Trend Micro. And we would like to welcome you along with Ray Green, who is our Irish Sign Language interpreter for this evening. So thank you very much for joining us. This is the first webinar of the series, and we're delighted on Safer Internet Day or Safer Internet Night to be launching this. And we hope to do this every 2 weeks at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. And I thought we'd show you our faces before we start sharing slides, because once we start sharing slides with you, you will no longer see us in the gallery view. So that's why I just want to say hello to you, and that you can see our faces here on Facebook streaming. So we have a lot of people dialing in live from Facebook. So hello to you, and also to people joining us on the webinar and Zoom as well. So hello everyone, and I will share now our screens and get going, because we've an action-packed hour, and we've a lot to talk about, don't we, Simon?
We do indeed.
Simon is our senior cybersecurity engineer, and I would like to introduce you to Simon before we proceed.
Yeah, guys, good evening. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. So yeah, a colleague of Avril's. So I work in Trend Micro. Day job is kind of helping keep the bad guys away from the good guys. But I've been working with Avril for probably about 10 years as a volunteer in the ISKF program, the Internet Safety for Kids and Families program. I started doing it out of interest, but also because I thought and was right that it would be beneficial for my own children. So I have two boys, 9 and 12, great kids. I think sometimes struggling at the moment with everything that's going on, like the rest of us. I don't have all the answers for you. I don't even have all the answers for me, but look, it's good to be here. And thanks again for joining.
It certainly is. Okay, let's get the show on the road. Okay, so I'm just going to share my slides with you there. Before we go on, we just want to share as well with you some, one second. Obviously, today is Safer Internet Day, so we're very proud to support Safer Internet Day. And to celebrate Safer Internet Day today, we're also obviously, besides having this parent night, we have launched What's Your Story for the 10th year, which is an annual video competition for kids and teens. And this is the question we've asked. It's going to run from today for 10 weeks. So if any of your kids are on TikTok and like making videos, which is, if you're listening to the news today, pretty much every child in the country, how did the internet help you get through this past year is the question. And we want them to answer that question in a 2-minute video, and they'll be in with a chance to win €4,000. If they're an individual winner, half the money goes to the school. And if they're a group winner, that money goes to the group. So we'd be delighted. There's the link, whatsyourstory.trendmicro.ie, and we'd love if you could pass this on to friends and family in schools and throughout, to let them know that this is happening, and we can't wait to see who the winners are this year. So again, live and launched today as well, so we're delighted to launch that. So before we begin, a few things, right? We have polls, and I don't know, some of you may not have, maybe you're familiar with polls, but I'm going to ask some questions, and they're anonymous, right? So we just want us all to kind of get to know each other, because, you know, when you're delivering something on a webinar, I can't see you. Normally, myself and Simon would be out in community, and we can see you, we can gauge your faces and your reactions, and that's kind of hard. So that's why we've got the polls, and we're going to ask you questions and give you that feedback. So that's going to really help us engage with you tonight, okay? So just answer the polls, just brief questions, and remember they're anonymous. And then the chat and the Q&A. So if you've got a question tonight, please, as we're talking, myself and Simon, please just go to the Q&A function on the screen and just tell us what your question is. If anybody else likes that question, there's an upvote button, which is a thumbs up. Hit that upvote button. And the questions with the highest upvotes means that the most people that really want us to answer that question, we'll start at those questions at the end. And there's a chat as well. You can talk to us, the panelists, if you have anything to ask us, and not in public. At the end of this webinar, you'll be when you hang up, when you log out, you will be directed to our feedback form, which is on our internet safety website. And just to get your feedback, it takes 2-3 minutes to fill out, and we'd be delighted with your feedback. And this session is also recorded, and it's really important that you're aware of that we record this, and we will be hosting this on our website too, which is really important for a lot of people who couldn't make it tonight. And also, you know what, it's great to just plug it in and go for a walk and listen to it, maybe at the weekend, or share it with friends and family as well. Okay, so here's the first poll that we're going to ask you. Okay, how old are your kids? Let's get a feel for who's on the line here. We've got a lot of people dialing in from not just Ireland and the UK, but around Europe as well. So we want to know, we want to know how old your kids are. So are they 5 years old or younger? Are they 6 to 10, 11 to 14, or are they 15 years or older? Now, we're just going to start the poll there. And if you can just, you can answer multiple if you've multiple kids in all the different ages. And we'll just give it a few seconds.
There's a range coming in here from 6 all the way up to 14 so far.
Kind of middle, so from 6 to 14. Okay, so we'll end the polling there, and we'll share the results with you. So the majority of parents on the line are, and educators and those dialing in, both through Facebook and through the webinar, are between 6 and 14 years old. Now, for those on you on Facebook, actually, I meant to say to you, you can't answer the polls, but let us know through the comments on Facebook if you'd like to let us know how old they are, or you don't have to. And if you have any questions or anything, send them through on the comments, and my colleague Catherine Dwyer, who's in the background there, will let us know and send them on to us here. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next poll, and I'm just going to share that with you as well. The next question. What did you give into during COVID? I gave into the following with my kids during COVID. And I think we'd all agree there's been a few. Maybe there's been a few. Roblox, Among Us, Fortnite. I heard Fortnite players actually got a free Disney Plus for 2 months. Did you give in to Skype? House Party, Discord, Instagram. The list is endless. I've definitely missed out on some, for sure. But these are just a sample. Did you give in to none of the above? Or did you give in to all of the above and more? So, you know, just give us a feel for what you feel, you know, during the pandemic in the last 10, 11 months, what you've allowed your children to have, maybe yourself.
We were joking about this, right? And just saying we should just have this slide saying just I just gave in, you know, because. But what I would ask, I think, people to remember is, you know, we're kind of joking here saying you gave in, but I think we all have to remember that what you're doing at the moment, allowing your kids online, is really you're kind of enabling them, right? Our kids are being taught online. They're playing with their friends. They're chatting with their friends. You know, things that they can't do in a normal way. The last 12 months have been very different for everyone, and it's the same for us, right? We're using the internet more and we're using it differently. But I just think it's worth remembering that, you know. I think things would be a lot worse if we didn't have the internet, right? In terms of us as parents working, communicating, but certainly in terms of our kids, you know, they'd be very isolated, I think. So the internet it's a bit of a blessing, I think, over the last 12 months, albeit it needs to be done in the right way, of course, as well, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, if you look at the results here now as well, you can see Disney Plus is a big one. Whoa. Among Us and Fortnite well up there as well. Not so much on the Roblox. A lot of quite a number, 20% of people. I'm going to end the polling and share it. That might be the most interesting thing, wouldn't it? To share it with everybody. So Disney Plus was a big one, followed by Fortnite, then Among Us, followed by Roblox. And I'm sure there's a lot more in the background, Simon, that we haven't mentioned. But that gives us an idea, you know, during COVID, like Simon said, there's been a lot going on, and anything we can as well to get our kids involved and engaged with friends and to keep them, you know, socializing is also very important. on just from Catherine. We got a lot of feedback from Facebook as well, just saying, Disney Plus is a big one. So
somebody
maybe
said
not,
they wouldn't call it giving in either, which
Yeah.
exactly, which is what we said, right? We're kind of joking about that, but
Yeah.
our kids need it at the moment more than ever, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. We're not giving into it, but we've decided it's important right now to allow our kids to have these things. Okay, so the next one, my greatest concern of my kids being online, time spent online, inappropriate content, contact with strangers, private information being shared. You worried about, you don't know what you need to know about to keep them safe. That's always quite a big one when we're out in the community with parents. I don't know what I should know. Or all of the above, a bit of everything. What are the things that concern you most? So just with that poll, we're just going to start the new poll. Let's see.
I think they're all relevant concerns. I think it very much depends on the situation. It depends on the child. Absolutely, we've seen tonight. We've got people here with kids aged from 6 all the way up to tweens and teens. So it depends on the online activity. So I think they're all relevant, as concerns.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's none more important than the other, really, is there, Simon? All of the above. The majority of people on the call here are saying all of the above and more. All of the above and more is what people are saying. Inappropriate content is quite big, and time spent online, which is natural because you've got kids now, homeschooling. You've got them then online talking to friends, playing, reading Kindle, listening to music, doing their homework, so it's a huge multitude of things. And therefore we're working. A lot of people are working from home. And then, of course, there's the shopping online and all sorts of things. So, and TV, don't forget TV and gaming and all of that. So quite a lot there. And I'm going to end the polling and share the results with you there.
All of the above.
All of the above. So it just gives a good feel of who's on the line tonight, who are we as a community. And remember, we're a global community. We're all in this together, not just here in Cork or in Ireland, where this is a global thing and a global concern for many. And we hope tonight to address some of these with you. And the things that we don't address tonight with you, we'd like you to tell us towards the end of the session, and we will incorporate those into the next webinar. Okay. Right. So moving on. So you'll see here that this was taken from March last year, just not that we need any more perspective about COVID, but if you think about it, 194 countries had school closures last year. 92% of kids learning were affected by this. 92% of children around the world were affected and were not in school and were at home, possibly homeschooled or not homeschooling at all for a while, because some schools were still trying to come to grips with it with e-learning platforms. So that's quite, did we ever think we'd see that? And then if you look at, the activities that we've used, and there's such an increase in activities on every aspect, whether it's streaming services, use of social media, use of mobile apps and video gaming. So you can see all those numbers there. Streaming movies was the biggest one with 54%, and that was last year. So that's definitely increased, hasn't it, Simon, since then?
Sure.
Absolutely. So just in perspective, we are all online and we're doing a lot more online. And I think it makes us realize, where would we be without the internet? If this was 30, 40 years ago, what would we be doing? It's definitely helped us connect and stay connected with people, with loved ones and family and people far away as well. Okay. Maybe some of these may sound familiar to you. My screen's frozen again. Please close the door. I'm on Zoom. Can I please get some TikTok? Give me TikTok, or give me more time on Roblox, or just 10 more minutes on that game. And there's a lot more we've heard of. So quite familiar.
It is. I don't even have a door where I work in the house. So I've had many Zoom sessions with customers and colleagues where kids have made an appearance, and but I've seen the same on the other side of the screen, right? So it's completely normal.
Yeah.
And I think like another problem I experienced last week, which we were talking about, Avril, was it depends if anyone here who's dialed in from Ireland, depending on where you live. You might be limited in terms of your bandwidth available, right? So last Tuesday I ran out of internet for the month. So we had 4 or 5 days where we were tethered to our phones and struggling. And I'm sure that's probably a concern for many people. But one thing I'd say, if for anyone here in Ireland who's suffering from that, take a look at the National Broadband Plan. They have a website, and it's really cool because you can type your air code into it, and it will bring up a map, and it will show you when you are due to get proper fibre broadband in your area and actually into your house. And the guys, they pulled up outside my house last Wednesday, which was great. So it's actually on target. So it's just something worth looking at if you're struggling to get that kind of the amount of bandwidth you need if you're working from home and your kids are being schooled at home and so on.
Absolutely. Actually, that's the reason I'm here tonight. This isn't my home. I'm at work. It's the first time I've been in this building since March of last year. And I just couldn't count on my Wi-Fi at home tonight, so I'm in here for the call. And my husband needed it for work, so that's why I'm in here. Not that I got kicked out of home, but pretty close. Okay. So where does that leave us, right? It means, children still need guidance. There's just the risks are still there, no matter what, and so are the benefits. And good digital citizenship, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? A tongue twister, but it's still a priority. Who we are online and what we want our kids to be online is really important, because what you are when you go down the village or out, out and about, who you are online is also important, and it reflects on you. Everything that we do and say online reflects on us as individuals. And we want kids to be good digital citizenships. So therefore, it still is a priority. What is digital citizenship? If this is the important thing that we need to focus on as parents and educators, okay, then where is that? Then what should we be looking at? We need to be talking about safety and security, and we need kids to have that nailed. We need them to know what safety is all about, how to be safe, whatever app, whatever game they're on, and security, not just safe, but secure. And Trend Micro is a cybersecurity company, and we've got a lot of experts in the field of security, and we're very passionate about this program. We also need kids to know about digital literacy, how to use a keyboard, how to create a Word doc, how to send an email, how to use technology as much as they can and be literate. Digitally literate is really, really important. Ethics and community, being ethical online and a sense of community online, doing the right thing. If you see something that's inappropriate, do something about it. Whatever it is, do something. But doing the right thing and using the internet, being masters of the internet, and using the internet for our own benefit and for the benefit of others in our community, because that is the internet. It's a powerful tool, isn't it, Simon? It's there for us all. We need to respect the sheer impact that it can have on our lives, the sheer potential it has, but we need kids to understand that and to respect it at the same time.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about this concept of a digital citizen and being a good digital citizen is a lot of it is, it's not a tech, and this whole thing which we're going through tonight, we will talk about some technology later, but a lot of it is not necessarily about technology. It's about communication. It's about parenting. You teach your child to be a certain type of person out on the road, in the playground, on a football pitch somewhere. And really a lot of it's, this is what this whole digital citizenship thing is, right? Is teaching them to be a certain type of person when they're online. And that's, as I said, that's not necessarily a conversation about technology.
Absolutely.
It's easier, right? For all of us here who have kids, we're all parents. We're used to being parents, So if it's not necessarily a conversation about technology, it's potentially an easier thing to do to help our children when they're online.
Absolutely. And I'll be first in line to say I've made a lot of mistakes. when it comes to my kids online, and I learn from them, and sometimes I don't learn and I fall for it again. And you know that we're only human, so we're all in this together. Okay, so um, these are the 4 areas that we normally cover in a parent night if we were in your community tonight, myself and Simon. But tonight we're just going to focus on being online and what we need to do to protect ourselves. And you know, given that it's Safer Internet Day, and I was on a call this morning with PJ Coogan, a local radio station here today, um, and a lot of parents were saying, you know, how can I need to work, I have, you know, my kids need to be in school, and you know, how do I make sure they're safe, and they're, you know, all those concerns we mentioned earlier, how do I make sure they're protected from those? So these are the things we want to cover, myself and Simon, tonight with you, and I hope that we do. And we've got lots of good stuff to share with you for afterwards as well. Okay. Okay, so you know, the environment, we're going to talk about setting up rules, and leading by example too. So setting up the environment, we've got the physical spaces around the house where, you know, where different people are allocated. So you might have kids at the kitchen table, or 2 parents at the kitchen table working, or you know, a sitting room. Maybe there's 4 different rooms for different people, but you know, there's different physical spaces have to be identified, in order for us all to work and to be online and to do the different things that we need to do. When we are online, we need a quiet space to do that, so we're not stressed out, especially if we're working or we're in school and we're trying to listen into Google Classrooms with what the teacher is saying. So it needs to be quiet. It's really important that everyone in our family knows that, you know, the 30-30-30 rule. Every 30 minutes, take 30 seconds and move your eyes away from the screen. If you can, get up and walk around. And look away 30 feet if you can, you know, and walk away, because that's really important to get a break. And getting up and standing and walking, sitting, you know, I've heard in the past is the new smoking. We need to get up and move. So every 30 minutes to be doing that. And that's not easy. You really have to set an alarm. Maybe for kids in secondary school it's easier because every 40 minutes they have a different class. But just to move, do something, and making sure that you're lighting, that you have good lighting, so that your eyes, you know, that you can see, and your screen isn't too far away and isn't too close to you, and that your seating is adequate with your 2 feet on the ground as well, and your body posture. And like I said, movement is really important, and regular movement at that. Kids getting pains in their necks and pains in their backs, we know where that's coming from if we start hearing that. And stretching and exercising and good posture when they're on a device, which can be challenging with tablets. Absolutely.
Definitely. I was going to
Yeah.
say that, Avril, about kids. I see that with my own, both in terms of gaming, you know, and you'll see your kid, as you said, if they've got a Switch or a tablet, something small in their hands, they could spend an hour with their neck bent over, and it could certainly lead to problems. So it's something to watch.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've seen recently, with obviously with our kids being schooled from home, is where possible, you know, the importance of setting up a proper environment. You know, if I've come in to see certainly my 9-year-old, you know, lying on the floor wrapped up in a duvet doing his homework, you know, that's not going to work. So, you know, get him a table, get him a seat, get him kind of, you know, it's somewhere where you can kind of do it properly. And I think that helps just get them into that frame of mind that I need to do something, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So setting up the environment is
Yeah,
really,
it
because
is
I think as
important.
well, it's kind of like getting
It's very
dressed for
difficult
work.
at the moment, right? When
Yeah.
everyone's at home, but yeah, do your best, you know.
It sets you up in a frame of mind too, though, doesn't it? Whether you're going to school or whether you're going to work, that you've got a desk and you're here for a reason, you know. So I found my 10-year-old under the duvet too at one stage. She was not doing her homework when she was supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, setting up the environment, you know, your network. Limit access to your router. Now, this one can be tricky depending on the router you have, and that's pretty obvious from where I'm sitting tonight. I'm not even at home, because of the quality of my local Wi-Fi. But you know, if you had, depending on the router you have, some routers you can actually split it, and a lot of routers do, where you can have guest Wi-Fi. You just need to log into your account online, whichever service provider you have it from, and you have two different Wi-Fi codes and passcodes. And with those, you can give the kids one and you could use the other for work and professional or whatever it is, that you split it that way. So you're not both leaning on one Wi-Fi, that you've got a priority Wi-Fi as part of the router designated. Now, not all routers have that. But
yeah, it is. It's very difficult, Avril. I mean, we were talking
yeah,
about it, right?
yeah,
It's like a lot of, again, for people in Ireland, you when you get your broadband, you typically get a router in the post now. It's like the size of a packet of cards, right? It's typically fairly limited in terms of functionality. Like Avril said, setting up guest networks and all that is, and kind of inbuilt security. A lot of the time, it's simply not there. Now, you can go and buy additional routers, absolutely, but there's obviously cost associated with that. It can be quite technically challenging, but that's the other great thing about the internet, right? Is if you've got a router and you don't know how to set it up, Google how to set up this router, and you will find an answer. So that can be helpful. But the one thing I would Java mentioned there is watch your passwords, right? Make sure that default password on your router is changed, and that's something which is fairly trivial to do. The last thing you want, and you might think it doesn't happen, but it does happen a lot, is somebody piggybacking, certainly at the moment, on the back of your router. So if you're somebody which is struggling with bandwidth, if your neighbor is using your router, that's not going to help, right? So just look at your passwords, change the password, and we'll talk a little bit about passwords later on too.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's separating the network, and using a Wi-Fi extender. So I live in an old cottage with walls that are 6 foot thick. So if I didn't have a Wi-Fi extender in a lot of the rooms, they're available they're called boosters as well. There's probably loads of different names for them, but I have a booster in most of my rooms, and it basically allows the Wi-Fi to travel through the wires into each room, and it definitely makes a difference. So if you're using them, you know how powerful they are. If you're not, I'd recommend investing in them. And as Simon said earlier, the national broadband infrastructure is one to look at as well, just to see how long you're going to be waiting. So that's the Wi-Fi extender. And staggering use of time. So for example, my husband did have to work tonight now, so that's why I'm in here. But normally I'd have them all off the Wi-Fi at home, and I'd be on this call at home. So staggering. Or if the kids are on, they've got a Zoom class at 9:30 and the other one has a Google class 3 times in the day, and and there's work calls, just if we can try and juggle it just to help with the broadband, because that can really cause stress, and it doesn't always work out either if everyone has to be online at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously something which is particularly difficult at the moment with, potentially adults working from home and children being schooled from home. The one thing, and sometimes that's unavoidable, right? Everybody has to do something. Everybody has something scheduled for the same time. But what I would say, what we find useful in our house is we use a shared calendar. So what I mean by that is, so my 12-year-old, he now has a phone. So we have an Apple shared calendar set up across my phone and my wife's phone and our 12-year-old's phone. So we put all the Zoom sessions into it, in terms that's what they're doing in the school they go to. They do Zoom sessions with their teachers. So we put all of that in, so it helps the kid, like at least our eldest, he can look and he can see, but myself and my wife, we can also look and we can see when they have something up, and then, that kind of helps us just try and organize it and kind of schedule it a little bit. But appreciate this is very difficult at the moment,
I've just gotten there's a loud whistle noise when I speak. I'm just wondering where that's coming from. I don't know. My apologies about that. Can you hear
I can hear it perfectly, Avril, actually.
Okay. I'll just keep an eye on that. I'm not so sure. Geez, maybe working from home is better than working in the office. The sound might be better. My apologies about that. I'll keep an eye on it.
Oh no, sorry, they're saying it's me.
Oh no, I think it's me. Oh.
No, because they're saying it's me. I think I think they thought my name was Ronan. It's Simon.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I thought it was me because my surname was Ronan. Okay, so is it yourself, Simon, is causing the trouble?
Could be. Maybe my broadband.
Okay, so we'll have a look at it, and please bear with us. Ironically, we're talking about Wi-Fi and internet quality, so in another couple of weeks, I think, Simon, you're going to be on the national broadband, so you're going to be showing off your broadband to us.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed. Some people are saying it's fine, so I guess
okay.
we'll continue on.
Okay, perfect. So staggering the use of time, that's a brilliant idea. I never thought of that. My gosh, a shared calendar with all those, that really is a great idea. And every week it changes then. So definitely bear that in mind. And then Simon, when it comes to the environment and securing everything, given your cybersecurity guru on the call tonight, can you talk to us a bit more about securing everything in the home? It's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Again, it can be quite difficult to set this stuff up, but it is important for many different reasons. I think, viruses, worms, Trojans. So like they're malware, the kind of general term for that. So that can lead. So if you don't, for example, if you have a Windows laptop, or you have a Mac, for example, there is the potential that something malicious could be downloaded onto that. That can lead to issues in terms of your laptop something simple like your laptop stopping working, or somebody could potentially steal something from your laptop and so on. So there's and especially I think when kids are using devices as well, they're potentially not as savvy in terms of what they may click on, for example. So it is important to secure your devices. The good news is, I think, that a lot of, like, if you go to buy a laptop today, the chances are that there will be some security included with that. So what I would say is just make sure the security is there, make sure the security is up to date, for example. So that will be one of the key things you can do. If you go through the slide, Avril, actually, I think it builds a bit, but passwords are absolutely key. Make your passwords, complicated. I'll show you some examples of that in a moment. The longer, the more mixed up they are, the better. So I did a quick exercise last night, actually, just to check. So if you have so if you just pick 8 random letters, for example, and make that your password, that can be cracked in about 1 minute using tools which are commonly available on the internet. Now, if you have 8 characters with a mix of numbers in there, it takes maybe 5 hours or so. And as you build that up, so what did I write down? So if you have 10 random characters, including numbers, it can take 10 years potentially to crack it. And if you go up to 12 characters in a password and use things like ampersand or an @ symbol, you're looking at, this might sound crazy, but you're looking at potentially up to 5 million years to crack a password. So the point I'm making is, by making your password slightly longer and slightly more complicated, you're making the bad guy's job of potentially guessing them pretty much impossible. So it is important. And when you say that to people, the obvious question is, well, how do I remember all those? And the answer is, you don't have to, right? So you can use a password manager. There are many free password managers out there. LastPass, for example, is a very good one. Or alternatively, write them down. Write them down and store them in your house. And you might think, well, that's crazy, but who else is in your house? So that's a much simpler way of addressing a potentially complicated problem. So it is very, very important.
And don't leave them stuck to your PC when you're, if
no,
someone
certainly
does break
not. In. No. I'm thinking, I guess, of being at home at the moment, and just writing. Yeah. If somebody's in your house, you've got bigger problems than them, potentially finding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just put them somewhere where if someone found them, they'd be like, "What is that?" They wouldn't make sense of it. Yeah.
So multi-factor authentication sounds very complicated. It's not. The good thing, again, is that a lot of services now, what I mean by services, so for example, your online banking in Ireland, so they will, if you're using AIB or Bank of Ireland, whatever, any of those online services, a lot of them typically now require multi-factor authentication, which would involve, for example, so when I log into my bank now on my laptop, I need to swipe on my phone to actually prove that it's me. So that's why it's called multi-factor authentication. It's something that I know, which would be my PIN or my passcode, plus something which I have, which is my smartphone. So, just look at the services. So, for example, your webmail, if you've got a Gmail account or whatever, can you set up multi-factor authentication? Absolutely, you can. So, tools and services you're using or your children are using, just Google, does it support multi-factor authentication? And again, it just makes it a hell of a lot more secure. Even though it's a relatively simple thing to set up, it can be a pain doing it because there is an extra hoop to get into your webmail or whatever, but it's worth in terms of kind of reducing the risk and improving the security around it.
And Simon, I would say as well that especially for your kids, if they're gaming, whatever they're gaming on, I would say turn on the multi-factor authentication. Because gaming, if they're being hacked, accounts are being hacked all the time to get the goods in the account or credit card details, or so always make sure you have that switched on. And when we ask parents, they don't know what multi-factor authentication is. Actually, we all do. It's a big long word, but actually it's just double. It's like the double lock on your door. You get an email or a text message, and you set up that way. And everything has it these days, don't they, Simon? Like
exactly.
You just have to go find it in the app.
You just have to go find it, and that's what a lot of this is about. As we go through the next slides, you'll see that you mentioned gaming consoles, for example. What you'll find is that if it's Tik Tok or it's an Xbox or it's a Switch, they all have parental controls to help make this job easier for us all. But as I said, this is why a lot of this comes back to parenting, right? You need to go and figure that out. If you just give your child a device and kind of let them, run wild with it, then, they will run wild with it. And just on that, there's a question in the Q&A. They're just saying, how old do you have to be to buy a smartphone? I thought it was 16. So that might be a question based on my comment earlier, that my 12-year-old has a phone. So he didn't buy the phone, we bought the phone. So I think, that's a question we get asked a lot. How old should my child be before I allow them to have a smartphone? So what I would say is it's a personal choice. You as a parent, your child, you know who they are, what they're like. Well, what we did, as I said, he got one for his 12th birthday. We had a lot of conversations with him beforehand, what it meant to get a smartphone, what would change in terms of the services he would be exposed to. And we do control it to an extent, of course, but the more important thing for him was, and for us, was just to talk to him about it. And he had to kind of prove before he got the smartphone that he was willing to talk to us about things like being online and using social media, and he had to kind of prove an understanding. And then myself and my wife, we just made a decision and said, okay, you're ready. And so far, so good, So there's no right or wrong answer. I think it's up to you as a parent to make that decision,
And I would say, Simon, your own child. You know exactly. In your heart and soul if they're ready for it or not. Are they forgetful? Could they lose it? Are they responsible with something that powerful in their hands? Yes. So a parent knows their own child. That's what.
Yeah, responsibility is key. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, will I move on to the next slide?
Do, please. Yeah.
Okay, so setting up the environment and practicing good habits.
So this here, I think, is just updates, Avril. It says here, like every Tuesday night. I wouldn't even keep it to a schedule. What I would say is just make sure you update your devices. So if you have an Android phone or an Apple phone or whatever you have, periodically it will say, hey, there's an update. So the advice here is simply to do it. You'll see the same if you have Windows, Macs. You'll see the same on gaming consoles. And a lot of the time, those updates, they can be for other reasons like, improvements or fixes or performance or whatever. But a lot of the time, it can be security related as well. So, so just do those updates. And you can see as well on the slide, just around using a passphrase instead of using a password. What I would say is it doesn't really matter how you create that password, but just remember the example I gave you, the difference between, cracking a simple, 8-character password in a minute versus a 12-character complicated password in like 5 million years. So just make them very, very hard to guess and just use some type of system for managing those.
Okay. And we've talked about backup and storage.
And there is a question there just in the Q&A just around how do you update devices if not prompted? So it will depend on the device, but what I would say is the best, unfortunately, we never have time to answer all of these questions. I could answer a question for your device, and you know the other person has a completely different device. So first thing I would say is Google that, right? How do I update my iPhone, my Mac, whatever it is? And the second thing I'd say is they all allow you to do that, and it is quite simple. You can typically go in and say, in an iPhone, like check for updates, for example. But the good thing is that a lot of the devices now, they do tell you, they do prompt you to do it. If not, you should only have to click through maybe a couple of menu options, and you'll get there. And it will, obviously they need a connection to the internet to be able to check for that, but definitely recommended.
Okay.
And then backup and storing safely is an interesting one as well. A lot of this is done kind of natively at the moment because of cloud services. So you think of, like, again, for anyone listening with an Apple device, you've got iCloud backup up to yourself whether or not you use it. And if you do, obviously be careful what you have on your phone. You don't want to be the next celebrity disaster. So just be smart about what you kind of save there. But a lot of it can be done like that. I'm old and I'm old fashioned. I still have USB devices with photographs, with family photos and stuff like that. So we use a kind of mix of actual physical devices and using stuff like iCloud.
You could get a hard drive too, an old-fashioned hard drive down in
the
local.
Well, I'm an old-fashioned type of guy. So, and there's a good comment there from Dennis, just saying older devices may not get updates, unfortunately, and that is absolutely the case. Mm-hmm. And that can sometimes leave them a little more susceptible to attack. But yeah, look, if there's no updates, you could look at potentially software to kind of help with that. But it is that can get complicated and kind of technical.
Okay, and again, still on the environment, we need to talk about tech tools, and this is something that you think sometimes you have to go and spend an awful lot of money on an awful lot of things in order to protect your kids online, and tech tools, things like age-appropriate content, in-app purchases, how much time being spent online, monitoring. There's so much out there that we can use that's already in your home. And you need look no further than your TV, the parental controls in your PlayStation, your Xbox, the parental controls within the TV itself, if it's a smart TV. If you look at the tablet, the iPad, the whatever Android device you have, whatever phone you have, whatever Kindle you have, whatever you have in your home, it has settings in them that can really guide you with age-appropriate content, things like in-app purchases, and everything you need to be looking at. And you just, like we said earlier, you need to find them. And if you can't find them, that's where anytime I'm struggling, I just go online, where do I find XYZ? And I might put in the name of the device, can't find it. I need to find this in a hurry. So just to be aware of that. The router has it, devices have it, the service provider can offer it. You can buy it from a service provider. Security software to protect your devices from malicious software and cyber criminals stealing your information, credit card details. You can get it there. App stores themselves and the sites and apps that you're using. So whether it's Roblox, Minecraft, or WhatsApp, you've got settings in every single one of them. So at every step of the way, there's settings and family settings and safety settings to help protect you. And we need to learn and remember that they're there and then learn to use them. And if you can't find them, you just go into the internet and say, how do I set up safety settings on, and just put it in. And there's a ton of information there to use. And we've got great stuff as well afterwards. And if we look at...
You've got some good examples here, Avril, of the tools.
Yeah.
I think the fundamental point there is these, all of the social media companies, all of the device makers, they are all getting much better at putting these putting these settings and controls natively into the devices. So just go and find them, right?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes
this is a really good one. So you showed me this one, the iOS screen time. Well, you're the expert now to go through this one, but it's very useful, right?
Yeah. So depending, you might have Android in your home, or you might have or you might have a combination of them. I'm going to look at this iOS screen time, but if you have Android devices, the Family Link is the one that you can use for Android devices. With iOS screen time, you just have to go and set up your family share. And if you don't know how to do that, you can simply go into settings on your phone and go into your account, your own actual account in settings, and it will come up about family share and you can set it up. So for example, my two kids now have iPads. And they saved up for them, right? For a long time. And I set up, because they're under 16, I set up iCloud accounts for them and then pull them in under my account. And then, there's things you can do like share music with them, share location. You can also set up screen time. So I'll give you an example of how this works, right? So you can see here, you've got downtime. You can schedule time away from the screen. So from Monday to Friday, Grace is not on her screen from the hours of 9 until 4 every day, right? But she does have always allowed. She's always allowed Seesaw, Google Classroom for the elder guy. They're always allowed certain things because they need them for school, but everything else is down. So from 9 until 4 every day, Monday to Friday, they can't go on all their favorite things, sadly. Um, but they're allowed things in there. Now, obviously, it's set up with them, and I had to explain it to them because if they were in school, they wouldn't be on their device anyway. So it's kind of fine, fair enough, yeah. And then after that, now they can go on and play, and I can then set up app limits. So, for example, Roblox, I don't really like her being on it more than a few hours, and that's just really creative. She loves it. She plays with her friends. It's great. But we agree things together. Some days she will be on it more than others. Just depends on what's going on in the home. But this is a powerful thing, and it's Family Link for Android devices as well. So you can schedule downtime, what they're always allowed on, what they're not always allowed on, communication limits. You can block websites. So there's content and privacy restrictions. You can go in there and block whatever. If you feel there's a website that you don't think is appropriate for them, talk to them. Great opportunity to talk to them about it. And the best thing, right, is the weekly reports. So if my youngest little girl comes along and says, I want more time, come on, I need more time. It's like she needs her fix. And if I'm a bit, I thought, if you've used up your time already, what have you been, so we go into the report, we look at it together, and she's been on it quite a long time and she's only 10. So for me, I just feel, okay, what if, you've done your homework, you've done XYZ, what about all the other things you need to do today? So it's a conversation with them. Sometimes we agree that she has it because she's got a project with her friends and they're making a video together and they're all excited. But it's about the conversation and building up that trust, open conversation. I would never confiscate a device on her, ever. And that's something I've agreed with her, because the moment you start confiscating, things start going underground and they don't tell you things. So it's the one rule that I have with her, is that I will never confiscate a device as long as you're always honest with me. But this is a really powerful thing to have. You can restrict content, restrict on privacy settings, and there's so much more. And we're bringing up TikTok as well today because it kind of hit the media. I mean, we've almost got 1 billion people on TikTok, and all around the world. And obviously over 90% of kids in Ireland have, between the ages of 8 and 12, have their own devices now. And a lot of them have been given TikTok. So even though minimum age is 13, and these are the things that TikTok are doing. So if you decided that you were going to give your child a device and you've decided you want them to you're happy for them to have TikTok, then you can allow them to download the app. You can restrict app downloads. Unless you have to talk about it first, review the app together, do your research, and then decide yay or nay. And if you decide yay, you download it and you go straight to settings and you go through the safety settings with them together. And try it out for yourself. But this thing, it's called family pairing. And it basically means that you can have the same account on your device as well as your child. So that whatever they do, you see, and that your child knows that, and set that up as rules with them. And you make rules about being respectful, being kind, being honest, always talking to me. And what I really like about this is just what family pairing looks like, but what I really like about TikTok is that it is family friendly. You know, you can set limits, exclude content that isn't suitable, and you can limit who they can send messages to. Um, and TikTok also are privacy by default. So it's really important that, you know, if a child is under 15 or under 18, that's reflected when they register and sign up, because TikTok protects them even more. For example, they will turn on private account. They will only, friends can comment on your videos. It'll turn off video downloads. So if you post a video, nobody can download your video if you're under 15, and if you're under 18, only friends can turn it off, or nobody actually, unless you choose. But it's off. It's switched off for downloading videos, and other accounts will not be suggested to you if you're under 15. So this is just an example of what TikTok are doing. And I just think we need more and more social networks doing that. But just like we want social networks and gaming networks and devices to be doing more, we also need to be doing more ourselves. And that's researching, it's doing more stuff with our kids, doing all the stuff that's kind of boring to us sometimes. But you know what? If we're going to allow them on it, we need to be there with them. We need to keep that conversation going.
Yeah, I think. Look, I think again the key point there, Avril, is the controls are there, right? It's just finding them. The other thing I would say as well is, like we've spoken about this. We use those controls in very different ways, right? So a simple example. So years ago, we tried screen time, not screen time in iOS, but just general rules about screen time, and you can have 2-3 hours a week or whatever it is. But for example, I found it didn't work in our house. I found that the children were they were kind of overwhelmed thinking about, well, how much time have I used? How much time have I left?
Mm-hmm.
They just weren't enjoying themselves,
Yeah.
So look, the controls are there. But what I would say to you is, try them out. You have to do a bit of research here. You have to look into this. You can go onto your phone and you can click through them and find them. And just decide what works best for your family.
Absolutely.
It's not one rule for all here. Just no. There's a couple of questions actually which we might get to in a few moments, but one in particular. Avril, you mentioned what was the Android version of the iOS screen time? Is it Family
Link? It's called Family Link. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question how to do that on Android. So if you look up Android Family Link, and you should be able to do the same with Android devices.
Absolutely, and it's fantastic, and there's a whole load of information on it and how to use it as well. And I'm going to keep moving because I'm conscious of Ray on the hour with our lovely sign language interpreter, and we've just got a few more slides to close out on. And I think we need to decide as parents what our kids are allowed on. We need to decide when. We've talked about that: school time, homework time, and then playtime. We also need to, decide how long. And you've got a lot of tools there to help guide you. You decide what works. As Simon said, every family is different. You know they're there and use them to suit you. You don't want to cause them to be looking for more, and that it's all about that. Not,
Yeah.
You want them obsessed about the time.
Well, you want them to be able to enjoy it, right? As we said,
absolutely.
They are still playing with their friends online.
Yeah, and it's quality as well. It's quality time over quantity. Yeah. That's we should be more focused on the quality, not how long, but what they're doing online. Yeah. I mean, if they're just scrolling for 4 hours on TikTok, that is a problem. But I mean, if they're creating content and they're learning stuff and they're teaching them stuff on YouTube and they're making stuff, I mean, that's quality time online, isn't it? So whatever it is, so know what they're doing, who they're speaking with, who they're talking to, and have that agreement with them. Only friends, Yeah. And where they're playing. So always have your eye on them. Maybe ask them to take the headset off when they're playing Fortnite so you can hear the language that they're using, when you can hear who they're talking to. And when they know that you're there, in and out, popping in and out every now and again, they're more mindful of the language that they're using. So just, you find different ways for yourself that works best in your home. So where ideally not in the bedroom, get devices out of the bedroom at night. And with whom, again, as I said, know who they're playing with, talk to them about who they should only play with, and if anybody tries to contact them, that they come talk to you.
And that's just on that point, there's a question there just asking about account cloning. So for example, dangerous adults cloning friends' accounts and speaking to your kids in gaming. So you wouldn't be able to clone an account. So options there would be somebody could potentially hack in to a friend's account, right? So that comes back to passwords, but I appreciate you can't control your kids' friends' passwords. The other thing which might potentially happen is someone could set up a user account which has a very similar name to, let's say, to one of your kids' friends, right? So that they're trying to kind of fool them that way. But I think then, so what that all comes back to is Avril's last point there, which is you can't stop people doing that. You have no control over the external forces there, but what you do have control over is your child. So talk to them about, as Avril said, who are you playing with online, and tell them, if someone sends you a friend request, you don't know them, if somebody chats you or says something to you through a headset and you don't like it or you don't understand it, come to me, and that's what works in our house. When we hammer that message home all the time. If there's something you don't understand, something you don't like, come and talk to us about it, and walk away and do that. I think that's that's not a technical control, but it's what works, I think.
And you know what, Simon, isn't it true? We're doing this for 12 years with Trend Micro, the Internet Safety for Kids and Families program, and we're a leading security techie company, and our number one piece of advice to families everywhere is the relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%.
It's listening, it's the conversation. The problems start when your kids stop talking, and you do not want that. So the lines of communication open always, and us not overreacting when all you want to do is have a nut attack. Keep your powder dry for later, and just remember they're coming to you with something that's really big, and help them figure it out. And digital citizens, if they see something going online, a pairing account or someone acting the clown, that they do the responsible thing. That's where we want to get, so that when we're not around, they're still going to do the responsible thing when we're not around. That's where we want to get to. So just quickly, and this is something that really is, I think, a fabulous idea. It's from Dr. Michael Rich from the Child Center on Media Health in University Boston Hospital. If we look at, instead of saying screen time, right? Because it's kind of outdated, because we're all on screens for different things all day long now. But if you look at 24 hours like a glass, and you sit down with your child and you say, right, let's look at today, the 24 hours. Let's start with sleep. How long do you need for sleep, right? And work with them to build out the 24 hours, right? So sleeping, mealtime, exercise is really important. We need that for our bodies. Outdoor time. So how much time do you need for that? Then look at, okay, so schoolwork, homework, reading, hobbies. What about that stuff? How much time does that take in the day? So you're building up your 24 hours here. And then supporting relationships. So time with family, time with friends, visiting the neighbors, socially distanced, obviously. But, all those things that you need to do. After school activities, when we all go back to normality, hopefully soon. And then you've got the time left over. And that time left over is where we say, well, what else would you like to do? And that's where their device time comes in. And what the beauty of this is, you're teaching your child to regulate themselves and teaching them from a young age to do that, so that when they get older, they see how important the internet is, how important the role a device plays in their life, and where that fits in their daily lives. And this is why I think it's a really nice thing to have and a really great exercise to use, but that they develop that. And the chances are,
the screen time feature is very useful for that, Avril, I found. Because it shows them, okay, you've spent an hour on this app, but you've only spent 15 minutes on your homework app or whatever it is. So it's very, to show a child that is very powerful, I think, because they can
absolutely. And there's a whole webinar on this on our website. It's managing screen time. Listen to the webinar. He's fantastic. I've learned so much from him. So there's so much you can do. So setting rules for yourself, respecting each other's time online, and spending time together, really, really important. We've got a lot of time together these days, so making the most of it and keeping the device maybe away from meal times. And for the younger ones, like we said, learn with them, build rules together, branch out carefully, and do it slowly. you know, um, and using those tech tools that we mentioned. Okay. And then for the older ones, you know, it's about that sense of responsibility that Simon's talked about and myself earlier, you know, ask and listen often. Simon, you know, we were talking during the week and Simon was saying, you know, when you hear your kid saying something to someone else and then you're thinking, okay, this I need to catch up on this and check in with them because, you know, something's happened there. And so you go in and say, so how are
Well,
things
yeah,
going?
the example. So I heard my 12-year-old talking about Snapchat streaks with a girl,
Snapchat.
and you know, so that wasn't me actively spying or listening to him. I just heard him. So that was a great conversation starter, you know, and so you'd be amazed what you hear. I think your children talking about online because they're relaxed, they're speaking
Yeah.
with friends, they're playing with their friends. So as you said, Avril, you can get a lot of insight, I think, into what's kind of going on in their life, you know,
Yeah, absolutely. And
and use it as a conversation starter.
absolutely. You mightn't even want to hear what you've heard, but you know what?
Yeah,
Use it as
exactly.
an opportunity to get right in there and have the conversation.
Yeah, who's this girl? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and encourage good uses. So you know what? To conclude this webinar, you know, we want to stay active, which is hard during snow, hail, rain, wind, but we need to stay active and we need to encourage that. We want to keep the lines of communication open and that relationship with our kids. That is the most important thing. Tech tools, safety settings are all there, but remember the relationship is the key thing. Staying up to date. Okay, it's Roblox now, Among Us. Next week, it could be something else, but let's stay in tune with it and stay up to date. Um, that's the end of our presentation actually, and I just want to highlight this page to you because when you end the webinar you will see this feedback form, and we will also pin, the lovely Catherine Dwyer is going to pin this feedback form to the comments field in our Facebook live stream. So if you'd like to comment, please fill in this feedback form because we'd love to hear from you and love to know what you think and what you'd like us to cover next time in 2 weeks time on Tuesday night again, same webinar number as well. The other thing is, if you put your email address into the box at the bottom anywhere, there's boxes at the bottom of this, we're going to be giving away a free 1-year subscription for 5 devices, a goodie bag with some stuff in it. So, you know, we'll just contact you. We're going to give them away to 5 people. So, you know, if you don't want to, please don't. We'll delete all emails afterwards. We do not retain your information at all, but just for the purpose of the feedback form to give these away, especially it being Safer Internet Day as well. Isn't that right, Simon?
That is, sorry, I'm just trying to answer a question here. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
So again, on internetsafety.tremmicro.com, we've got some seriously great resources for you. And we've got another webinar tomorrow night, which is live across US and Europe. Anyone can join in. And these are different topics. So, you know, all of these are online at internetsafety.trendmicro.com. So please, you know, use the time. So when you get redirected to the feedback form, you're actually on the website. So take your time and have a look around. There's some amazing stuff there. I put on my phone and I go for a walk and I listen to them because I learn something new all the time. I think, Simon, you know, we've answered questions. Our next webinar will be Tuesday 23rd at 8 p.m. again. We will communicate this out across all our media channels again and by email. But if you would like to tell us what you'd like us to cover in the next one especially, we're just going to launch a poll here just to get your feedback. Just let us know because we'll take your feedback. So you can either answer this poll, put it in the comments on Facebook if you're on Facebook streaming at the moment, the live stream, or just tell us what you'd like us to cover. And we're going to cover that in 2 weeks' time on the Tuesday night, get straight into it with tips, information, and more support as well. So video, let me see. At the moment, we're looking at, wow, okay, gaming. That's not a surprise. Cyberbullying, yes, it's just as prevalent. Nothing really has changed there except we're all more online now. managing screen time. I'm really glad this one is popular too, because yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so I'm going to just end the poll there and share the results. So we will definitely be doing gaming. Myself and Simon, we're going to decide how we're going to break this up. It's so hard to kind of try and figure out what we cover every 2 weeks, but we will make them into short modules to make the most of them for you. And thank you for your feedback. Ray, I hope you are still okay. We've gone a few minutes over, and myself and Simon would like to just thank you for your amazing multitasking skills. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've learned this is Twitter, this is Snapchat, Snapchat, and this is Instagram. Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm learning. I love learning all this stuff. So I might learn something else the next time, Ray. So thank you so much. This is recorded. We'll be hosting it on our website. And Simon, thank you, my partner in crime. I'm really delighted to have you with me.
Welcome.
This
No, it was a
evening.
pleasure. It was good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And look, final thing for me, like this, it's not. It might seem very daunting to do this stuff, but as we said, a lot of this is not about technology. It's just about communication and parenting, and it can be done. The answers are out there. You just look. It's a bit of effort to go and find them, but yeah, hopefully you've got something you can take away from tonight. And we always kind of used to say at the end of these sessions, just go and do one thing, right? Do something different, something you haven't done before, be it a conversation or look at the settings on a device, and just make a start, right?
Absolutely.
For giving us your time.
Absolutely.
I'll get a headset the next time so the quality is better.
Thanks, Simon. And thank you, Catherine, on Facebook. And thank you, Kevin Flynn, as well, for being there in the background. We really appreciate your support. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Come back to us. Join us again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.